But let's talk about the overall like life decisions of people, the younger kids that are coming out of college, or maybe they're in high school right now trying to consider career paths. The world's changing very rapidly. Talk to me just about like this entrepreneurial life that you've lived and looking back on it, the opportunities to travel and do stuff with Julia and your wife and like, the events you guys have done and hosted. And if looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
Sure. Looking back with what I know now, there's a lot of things I would have done differently. Like I mentioned, like when I was buying property early on, I would have leveraged way more money or partnered, figured out some way to get more capital. Even when I moved to Tampa, I was acquiring real estate and we were doing some wholesale deals and transactions, but I didn't take it nearly serious enough. Houses in St. Pete and Tampa were selling for 150,000 bucks all day long. I helped clients buy for those prices, and those same homes are now selling for around 300 to 400,000 bucks. That all happened in less than 8 years. Most of it happened in the last 4 years since COVID.
Again, that's a testimony to like fiat currency. The more US dollars that they print, the more those dollars chase scarce and desirable assets in growing markets. And real estate historically has been one of the best hedges against inflation outside of the S&P. If not better, because you can use leverage, you get depreciation and tax benefits. And that's really what has been the driving force for the U.S. real estate market is it's truly used by the wealthy as a hedge against inflation. And when they see those growth trends and people are migrating to Florida, that starts driving pricing and offsets the effects of inflation. And people need to shelter their cash.
They need to shelter their cash. The winning trade of the century, and really longer than that, but especially since 1971 when we left the gold standard, the winning trade is short the dollar or short any fiat currency and long a hard asset. Real estate's the easiest way, hands down, to do that. So that's why so many successful people own a lot of real estate. They buy a lot of real estate. Most of them leverage their real estate, not all. But that's a fundamental way to short something that's definitely declining in value over time and long something that's increasing in value over time.
So it's funny, man, that you looking back, the first thing that comes to mind that you would do differently is you actually would have used more leverage.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people got wiped out in 2008 because they were over leveraged. We were very conservative and didn't use enough leverage.
Yeah.
And so in hindsight, like that's one thing you go back and change.
Absolutely. That would have been a game changer. I'd be retired by now, like very, very comfortably retired. The other thing too is I mined Bitcoin in 2013, but I didn't take it seriously. I had a computer. I bought 3 graphics cards. I read about it in a local newspaper. I'm like, oh, that's a novel thing. And I literally learned how to mine Bitcoin back when there were no exchanges. Maybe there was Mt. Gox, but there were hardly any ways to actually hold in custody Bitcoin. Really hard to use. And I think Bitcoin was around like maybe 200 or 300 bucks at the time. The other regret I have is that I didn't take it more seriously back then. If I had, even though I did really well with real estate, brokerage, businesses, I, again, would be on an island somewhere right now if I just bought Bitcoin. Lots and lots of it. And you don't even have to leverage Bitcoin for that to make a huge impact.